Have you been wondering where to invest money in real estate in the greater Montreal area? Today I'm going to walk you through what I would do in 3 different scenarios. If I had $100,000, $300,000, and $500,000 to invest in real estate, what I would do. I'm going to break down different properties, what my strategy would be, and how I would play out the entire thing. So stay with me to the very end so you can see how I would invest my money today. My name is LJ Aguinaga, here with LJ Realties in Montreal. I've been a realtor for the last 17 years, and every single day we wake up helping families buy or sell real estate in this market. If you have any questions about this wonderful market, I'd be happy to walk you through it. And if you want to book a one-on-one meeting with me, there's a link down in the description below where you can book a meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have, and we can walk through your specific cases. So without further ado, let's discover what I would do with $100,000 to invest in today's market. If I had $100,000 to invest in real estate in Montreal today, my plan would be the following. Assuming that I qualified as a first-time home buyer as far as the government's concerned, I would look for a triplex that I could live in. So I'd look for a property that has 3 units that I could buy with 10% down because I'm going to be an owner-occupant in the property, and that I can really offset my costs to not have too much being spent on the property. So I have an example here, currently listed on Orleans in Aguinaga, and this property is interesting to me because of the price point. So we're at $850,000. It's a triplex on 3 floors. I always like triplexes that have 3 floors because that means you're gonna have bigger units. So to me, that's super important. This property is made up of 2 4.5s and a 5.5, and I typically look for at least 2 bedrooms, so 4.5s being the minimum in the building, because I think we can get better rents for these properties typically, and the price differential isn't significantly more. Over here, I have a current gross revenue of $50,888. So you can see that the rents are $1,750, $1,350, and $1,140. I've got the tax information here at $4,900 per year. You can see that based on the gross income multiplier, it's 16.71, so that's pretty aggressive in the current market. That makes a lot of sense. Your price per door is at $283, which for a triplex is quite good. And here's some basic info. You're 7 minutes or 500 meters away from Joliet Metro, so I always like to be within 10-minute walking of a metro, so this ticks all those boxes. It's being sold without legal warranty, but that's pretty common in the multifamily space. So let's take some of this information and put it into my calculator and see what it gives me, right? So we got 850, let's go. So they're asking $850,000. I have the 10% down that I mentioned. I have my CMHC insurance that I mentioned. Taxes, they were just under $5,000, $4,916. So I got $4,916. Insurance, let's say $700 per unit, 3 units. That gives us $2,100 on the year. I can amortize on 30 years because like I said, I'm a first-time home buyer. And you know what, I'll even look at the difference if I didn't have that advantage and I had to amortize on 25 years. And for a rate, I'll go 4% in both cases. The only thing missing here is let's compare the monthly revenue. So in this case, if I was moving into it, I'd keep the 2 higher rents, so the one at $1,750 and $1,350, and I would move into the unit that has the lowest rent right now. So equals $1,750 plus $1,350. So that means that the carrying cost for me in this scenario would be $1,235 per month, which is really great. If I was paying that in housing, I mean, just about any apartment's gonna be at least $1,500, $1,600, at least. That's a 2-bedroom right now in the greater Montreal area. So I'd be saving money, and obviously I'd have the rent coming in from the other 2 units. That's gonna be offsetting my carrying cost, which is amazing. Even if we did this on the 25-year amortization scenario here, my carrying cost would be $1,633. So I'd be paying similar to what my rent would be, but I'd be a homeowner. And again, I would have the carrying cost being paid off in part by the other 2 rents. In this case, I have, let's say, inspection of about $900, notary fees for $2,000, adjustments are baked into here based on the taxes of the property, but it'll be a little bit less depending on when we close because of the rental revenue. CMHC tax to consider, and welcome tax on this transaction. So all in all, we got just under $20,000 in expenses. So with my down payment and closing costs, I'm a little bit high here. My total cash invested is $104, so I just busted the $100,000 threshold. What if we bought it for $825? We negotiated a little bit. Now I'd be at $102. So I'd have to find an extra $2,000 to make this deal work. But all in all, this would be my strategy. I'd be looking for something like this. And again, I can technically amortize it because welcome tax will only be payable in probably 3 to 4 months after the transaction. And it'll take me 1 to 3 months to close on the transaction. So I'd probably have an extra 6 months before my welcome tax was due. And I'd have that time to basically make up that difference in savings over that period of time. So that would be my strategy. And then obviously what's really great about this strategy is that at some point I want to move out of this property and then I can rent out that other unit. I can realistically rent this other unit out for $1,600. At this point, I'd be cash flow positive $475 per month on the 30-year amortization. Or I'd be cash flow positive $88 per month on the non-first time buyer, so the 25-year amortization. So in both cases here, I would not have tied up all that much cash. Again, we're talking about $100,000 roughly, and I'd be an owner of a property that's appreciating, that's having capital paid down by the renters, and I'd be in good shape. That'd be an awesome first move, and I encourage most first-time buyers, people who are looking to get into real estate, to make a move like this. Now, let's move on to the scenario where I have $300,000. In that scenario, I probably look for a bigger property. So in this case, I found a Sixplex in the Rosemont area. This is the Shop Angus. This property is listed for $1.225 right now. It's on Davidson. It's located right in front of a park, which is pretty nice. What I like about this deal is that currently the declared revenues are $80,000 for the building plus $3,600 in parking/garages. I've got some of the expenses here that we'll look at in a second. Two of the units are currently vacant, and they've estimated the rents at $1,300 and $1,350. They're both 3.5, so those are pretty fair estimates of what it looks like. And then over here, the monthly revenue from the occupied units. So this one's $805 for a 3.5. That's got some room that can go up. This one's $1,311 for a 5.5. That obviously has a lot of room that it can go up. $1,046 for a 3.5. For a 4.5. That also has room to go up. And then $911 for the loft studio. So there is definitely rent optimization that can be done across the board on this property. I have a garage, I've got a driveway, so that takes into account for that. The building's in very good condition, no major renovations required, stable income. Okay, now I'd be looking at this deal, so let's put it into here. 122, let's assume we get it for 1.2 million, which is a pretty fair assumption in the current market. I'd buy it with 20% down. I'd amortize it on 30 years. My rate would probably be a bit higher here. Let's say we go conventional residential financing. So in this case, I'd be looking at a rate of probably 4.3 ballpark. The taxes on this, and then I have gas. So I have one central burner for this. So between these two, let's just remove the insurance bill from here. So it'd be 18,800 minus 3. We'll call it 15,600. So here I'm going to put 15,600, and that counts for taxes as well as the heating bill. And then for insurance, I would do my is equal to 700 times 6, about 4,200, which lines up with what they had there. Okay, so right now, if we look at what we have here, we're looking at 80,000 or 84,276. 84,276 divided by 12. So in this scenario, on day one, I just bought it. I parked my cash, and this value is too high. 1 second. It's not showing up. I would basically have $240,000 down, and then I would have, let me calculate your welcome tax here just to force it to work. Here we go. 1.2 million. So 21,000. Okay. So let's force this number here. 21,000. Boom. So total cash invested, $271,700. So I'd still have about 29 grand for a few renovations, improvements, etc. There might be somebody who's considering leaving that if I were to offer them some cash to leave, they'd be more enticed to leaving early, so I can optimize that unit a little bit faster. But this would be a pretty simple investment. From day one, it's cash flowing. I don't have to worry about it. I amortized on 30 years. Everything would be pretty straightforward. This to me is a deal that makes a lot of sense. I can buy the property right away and off we go. And that'd be a super simple way to proceed. The next option that I have is if I had $500,000, what I would do. And if I had that option, I would realistically do this exact same deal, but just go a lot more aggressive. What I mean by that is that a Sixplex in this area, optimized, could easily be worth $2 million. So if I can purchase this property, acquire it for this rate today, and still have an extra 250, or in my case, probably closer to 300 grand available to me, I would probably go in right away and I'd start negotiating with tenants. I'd say, hey, look, I'm looking to renovate the entire building. Have you considered moving out? I'd look for a buyout, cash your keys essentially, and see who'd be willing to do that. I'd probably budget in my pro forma for that. If you are curious to know what I budget in my pro forma, feel free to send me a message or send me an email. The contact information is below. I'd be happy to share that with you. And again, this is an offer to the tenant. It doesn't always work, but you throw out an offer, see if you can come to terms with them and where you go from there. And then I would leave myself the budget to renovate the property to really make it look as good as it could be. And then from there, know that I'm going to get an appraisal from a chartered appraiser after that I can take the bank at $2 million. So effectively, I would do this exact same deal, but I would use the difference in cash. So in this case, like I said, we had about 29 plus the 200. So again, we got about 230 grand available to us. And I would go look to refinance the building once fully optimized with a valuation of $2 million. At that point, I'd probably go through the MLI Select program, and I would have done some energy efficiency upgrades like adding heat pumps to the property, slow drip faucets, the appropriate hot water tanks, changing windows on the building. So I would have done all these improvements so I qualify for the MLI Select program. I can amortize it on 40 years at that point in time. I can reduce my cash tied up. I'd realistically pull out all of my capital that I have invested into the property to then go out and do this again on a different property. But effectively, by having the capital, I can go in real quick and do all the renovations and really do the improvements. And even if one or two of the tenants decide to stay because they had no plans on moving, well, I won't get that $2 million valuation, but I can probably get a $1.75 million valuation, something in that range. So all of a sudden, I will have been all in for 1.2 plus, let's say, 230 grand. We'd be about 1.43, and I'd have a 175 valuation. So the numbers will work out in this case to be able to pull out some significant capital from the deal. So that's effectively what I would do in this situation, and that's how I would invest my money today. Thank you so much for watching my video on how I would invest $100,000, $300,000, and $500,000 in the Greater Montreal area today if I was looking to make a purchase. I hope this video brought you a lot of value, and it's going to help you on your investing journey. If you'd like to meet with me, I have a link just in the description below where you can book a one-on-one meeting with me, whether it's in person, over Zoom, or at a property that you're looking to check out. I'd be happy to discuss how we can get you further along in your real estate investing journey. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We help over 115 families buy or sell real estate every single year, and we'd love to make you one of those. We want to be your dedicated resource of choice when it comes to the Montreal area investing. So without further ado, I look forward to seeing you on the next video.